These are the instruments that we will use during the workshop for the application of a tibial frame. First, you need to place the tibia properly. In surgery, essentially what this means is your tibia should be facing forward with the patella forward. As explained earlier, the rings should be assembled. So, you have 4 rings, the rings have to be assembled properly. On the X-ray itself, you can measure what will be the size of the frame. So, the first ring usually comes at or about the level of the head of the fibula. The last ring comes somewhere between 2 to 5 centimeters from the ankle joint line, and the middle 2 rings I like to keep it about a hand's breadth away. So, they are close enough for stability, but at the same time there is enough place to work. So, you can actually on the X-ray measure this, and in the workshop we measure this 2 lengths and pre-construct a straight frame with the rods at the appropriate length. So, there are threaded rods of different lengths. We usually use the first hole on one side of the center bolt. When we pre-construct, we use only 2 rods, so that if any adjustment has to be made, you need to move only 4 nuts. If you connect 4 rods, all of them, then it becomes a little difficult to adjust. Leave the lower side, one side of the rings, the rod should be flush. The other side you can keep it more protruding a little bit. As always with Elizarov, a pair of spanners held by one person should be used to tighten. So, now we have got a rod on either side, diametrically on either side of the center bolt. They are not on the same side, notice. The length that we measured earlier should be checked so that the rings are at the appropriate length from each other, and this should be measured on the front as well as the back before the final tightening of the upper nuts is done. This has to be firm, not necessarily severely tight, but definitely that it will not move. So, front as well as the back, the length should be the same. So, now we have got the distal block which will go on to the distal part. When you move it, nothing is ringing, everything is tight. So, this is appropriate for the proximal. If need be, you can always adjust it. We have left the protrusions on the inside, the outsides are flush. This is just good clean frame pre-construction. And between the upper block and the lower block, again we have got 2 rods. So, we are not using 4 rods between the rings because this is a pre-constructed frame. Once the frame has been fully constructed or applied, then we will apply 2 more rods. We slip the frame onto the leg, onto the sawbone. If it's too tight, you can always open up the center bolts on one side and then reapply them. But for a workshop, it's okay. The first wire goes at the level of the head of the fibula somewhere midway between the anterior and posterior cortices of the tibia. When you look at it from the top, it's either parallel to the joint or perpendicular to the shaft, and when you look at it end on, it is parallel to the ground. So this wire is known as a reference wire, because based on this wire, your entire frame will fall correctly on the leg. Similar to what we did in the wire fixation workshop, 2 finger breadths is what we leave on the front for the tibia, because most of the musculature is at the back. Holding it like that, the wire is captured on the ring. Remember to keep the center bolts in the center and not rotated. Once the wires have been captured, we do the usual sequence of tighten one side, tension from the other side, somebody holding to avoid torque, tighten the wire fixation bolt on the tensioner side also, cut and turn. Now you need to see that the ring is parallel to the tibia even on the lateral. So if you keep 2 finger breadths there, the ring itself becomes like a guide. So the second wire is put from posterolateral to anteromedial through the fibula. Some people tend to call this as the second reference wire. I don't think it's a reference wire. The reference wire is the first one. This one just follows the surface of the distalmost ring. So it goes from posterolateral, comes out anteromedial. While holding the ring 2 finger breadths from the skin, the wires are captured. Usually this wire will also be parallel to the ankle joint. So now we've got the length set. You can't change in the AP, you can't change this, but you can see we've created the fracture now, and in the lateral there is a little bit of a sag. So if you want to fix a fracture, there are 2 ways that you can reduce it. One is, of course, physically hold the fragment up, but there is another trick that can be used, and that is to arch the wire about 1 hole above from where it actually wants to lie. You can notice the slight arch convex downwards. And now when we tension the wire is going to become straight. As it becomes straight, it essentially draws that fragment up. So you can use this to displace fragments or to reduce fragments in either direction. Once it is tensioned, you tighten. Now your proximal fragment is fixed. So you can arch it downwards to pull the fragment down, arch it upwards to pull the fragment up. Now you can also use olive wires for reduction. Here, as you notice, we are putting in an olive from lateral to medial in the transverse plane, and push the olive right down till the bone after making a small incision. The distal fragment is displaced a little lateral. So if I want to improve that reduction, I can use the olive to pull on that distal fragment. We put in the wire fixation bolt as normal, except we don't tighten it fully. And now put a tensioner on the side opposite to the olive and tighten. As you tighten, the olive is drawn towards the tensioner, and you will notice that mediolateral displacement has reduced. The moment it is reduced appropriately, you tighten the opposite side. What this will do is, now any turns on the tensioner will only tension the wire, it won't allow the wire to move. So now you tension the wire to the maximum tension, tighten that wire, and you have been able to reduce this. So this trick can only be used in the frontal plane. You can't put a wire from front to back. So to reduce any sag, you should use the arced wire technique and to reduce mediolaterally, you should use olive wires. So we have now got a basic reduction of this. We can add more wires. The next wire goes in to the head of the fibula. If you can feel the head of the fibula, you cannot injure the lateral popliteal nerve because it passes behind the head of the fibula and then crosses the neck. So this wire has to go through the fibula, through the tibia and out on the medial side. So it's a posterolateral wire. All the other principles need to be remembered. Medially, you can put in a wire between the tibialis anterior and the extensor hallucis longus. You can feel that groove very easily, and it should come out anterior to the medial crest of the tibia because the posterior neurovascular bundles are there. So we changed that rod from the first hole because it's coming in the way. So we are going to add a rod on the other side and then take out this rod on the lateral side. Whenever we are changing rods, always first add and then take out. So now we've got this first hole available for us to pass the wire from. So that exits anterior to the posterior crest or just about at the posterior crest. If you keep a finger there, you will be able to direct your wire well. So there is no risk to the posterior neurovascular structures. Here you get a good crossing angle. It's as close to 90 as you can get. We then add on Shann screws to augment the fixation. So 2 or 1 in the proximal, in the middle as well as the distal. Notice this oblique Shann screw. The advantage of this using a oblique Shann spin holder is that you can hold an area which is further away from the ring. So again, basically just like a drop wire, you can expand the area of your hold on the tibia. So this is the completed frame that I would use for a fracture of the middle third of the tibia. For small distal fragments also, you can put in wires at other different levels. You can use drop wires and Shann screws so that even for a small distal fragment like this, you can get a reasonably good hold. Notice this wire's obliquity. Whenever you are fitting two rings together at an angle to each other, you should always use these coupled washers. Only then you can securely fix rings at an angle to each other. If you try to use regular rods without the washers, basically you will be imparting a bending force on the rings. Notice what happens. As we tighten this rod without washers, it tries to become perpendicular to the ring, and it induces a bend in that rod. So this bend is basically latent energy. That bend is always trying to straighten out. So you can't get good compression if you have bent rods. Versus against that, look at the rod which is next to the center bolt. That is absolutely straight. So this is again a basic tenet of Ilizarov. When you have rings at an angle to each other, always use coupled washers.